nous allons accueillir sur scène Elena.
Thank you very much. I very much realize I'm the last thing standing between you and lunch, so I'm going to try to make it efficient. So here we are. For decades, construction and industry were on a one-way road towards environmental wreck. Companies know we have to change, but there was a conflict between business economics and sustainability, leaving sustainability as a nice to have. Not anymore. We have an economic and environmental model that puts these two from a conflict into a happy marriage. Let me tell you how. Our story started with a huge scandal in Belgium. It was around forever chemicals. The Belgian government went around and measured the blood of people living around the factory of 3M. It was all over the news. What they realized is that the concentrations in the blood of forever chemicals were up to 10 to 100 times above the recommended limit. Chances are you might not have heard of forever chemicals, but they're everything that make things non-stick and water resistant, like our phones, our frying pans, and our winter jackets. But because of their useful properties, they do not decompose in nature, and they create this pollution that spreads really far. It has been found in the Arctic ice and in the blood of polar bears. 99% of us have forever chemicals in their blood, and this is how the map of pollution in Europe looks like. It has been calculated that societal costs of forever chemicals are $17.5 trillion per year. And if we continue the production at the current rates, it will take more than global GDP to clean them. The Belgian government obliged 3M to look for solutions, but there were none except for excavating the ground and putting it somewhere else. But if you look at this map, you will see that we cannot literally excavate a third of our continent. After that scandal, my colleague Frederik Verstraete ran one of the first pilots in the world to clean forever chemicals from soils with plants. They worked with a farmer right across the road from 3M, which should give you an estimation of what kind of pollution goes into our food. And they used a plant called industrial hemp. It's known for its soil cleanup properties, and it was even used to clean Fukushima and Chernobyl. What they proved afterwards, and here is a beautiful picture of the harvesting, is that they managed to prove the impossible. They realized that hemp plants acted like huge pumps, transporting the pollution all the way from the soil through the roots and the stems into the leaves of the plant. The leaves were then separated and treated at high temperatures. You need above 1,400 degrees to treat forever chemicals. And the stems, they were scientifically tested project after project, and they remained absolutely clean with no traces of pollution. So they used the stems to make bio-based construction materials. Here is an example of such material. We like to call it a giant Oreo cookie. Some say that it looks like an ice cream sandwich, but what it is a building sandwich panel, a modular element used in construction. One of the typical ones is made out of wood on the outside and fossil fuel-based insulation like PER on the inside. Let's discover what this sandwich panel is made of. On the outside, you have reinforced hemp wood, which is made out of the plants that you've seen on the picture before. It helps us save up to 500 trees per hectare per year because it grows much faster. It's also stronger than wood because it's one of the strongest natural fibers, and it's fully circular, so you can chop it and make exactly the same wood as before. On the inside is just hemp fibers and mycelium or mushroom spores that grow in 7 days. 7 days. Just imagine, we used to extract fossil fuels, transport them, send them through complex manufacturing processes, emit a lot of CO2 just so that we could insulate our homes. Now we can grow this insulation locally in 7 days. This insulation is also healthier to breathe in our homes, and it has better heat capacity. Let me explain. Fossil fuel-based insulation is really good at keeping the cold out, so we need less energy to heat our buildings. But once that heat is inside, it's really difficult to get it out. Maybe if you have a house like that, I do, and in summers it gets really hot. So every morning I wake up at 6 o'clock to open all the windows and let fresh air in, and by noon it's hot again. Well, mycelium-based insulation actually has better heat capacity, meaning it does keep the cold out, but it also keeps the heat out. So we need 10% less energy to cool our buildings, which is especially important during heat waves. There is a cherry on top. Because hemp grows so fast to 4 meters in just 4 months, it also captures a lot of CO2 from the air. So this sandwich panel actually, in the net result, removes carbon from the atmosphere and literally stocks it in the buildings, helping us move the construction from a huge carbon emitter into a huge carbon sink. What we have as a result is a win-win-win: better soils, better construction, and less CO2. This pilot gave birth to Earth Plus, and we started thinking, what other types of problem can we solve with a similar regenerative business approach? Turns out, we can also help restore degraded lands. And those are huge. Just in Europe, over 60% of our agricultural lands are already degraded. That's 100 million hectares in the EU right now. And that number will be 90% by 2050 if we don't do anything. So imagine, where are we going to grow our food? Well, it turns out that if we use hemp like a rotation crop, we can actually help restore the soils and increase the yields of other crops. I will give you an example. Who here likes French fries? All right. Well, first of all, I come from Belgium. We believe French fries were invented there. They should be called Belgian and they're the best in the world. I really thought you should know. But jokes aside, and maybe you don't agree with me, but whatever type of potatoes you prefer, maybe it's French fries, maybe it's puree, maybe it's potato chips, farmers can grow this delicious crop for us only once in 5 years because it sucks all the nutrients out of soil. So in the meantime, they have to grow something else. And actually, scientists have studied and realized that if you grow industrial hemp as a rotation crop, you can bring the yield of the main crops like potatoes or wheat or other crops up by at least 5 to 15%. This way, we are restoring soil and making better construction once again. This approach can be also applied to large restoration projects at scale. What you see here is one of our favorite ones. This is a picture of Murcia in Spain. It's about 2-hour drive from the place that was impacted in Valencia by huge floods, and we've been actually there during that period, so it was impacted by heavy rains too. But in reality, it's one of the driest regions. That's where the desert is taking over. You might not believe it, but this valley that you see here used to be full of hemp. Until 1940s, they were growing hemp there for 11 generations for the Spanish Navy, for everything, for the ships, for the ropes, for clothes, for shoes. Then the synthetic fibers took over, and the region started getting deserted. For many reasons. Climate change is one of them, but also industrial agriculture and water-intensive crops. Because, for example, now they are growing broccoli and lettuce there for the Northern Europe. I literally, after that trip, I went to the shop and I saw a broccoli that said Murcia, Spain, right from there, from the fields that I witnessed. Now, what's wrong with growing lettuce and broccoli there? The thing is, there is not much water. So these companies come for a few years with temporary workers and they extract all the water from the underground aquifers. And that leads to even more widespread desertification and dries up the river. So you see here in the picture there is a bunch of trees. There is a little pond that was constructed in the Roman times. And there is a little spring that starts River Kipar over there. The problem is that the river only lasts for 2 kilometers, and after 2 kilometers it stops because everything is dry. You see where the river should be, but there is no water in it. Now, why is it so difficult to transition to regenerative agriculture there is because by growing lettuce or broccoli, companies earn 80 times more on a hectare in a year than regenerative farmers with regenerative crops. So if we can bring, as part of the solution, industrial hemp back there, it requires 90% less water to grow than other standard agricultural crops. It helps restore soils, and it creates new business opportunities for the region where farmers can grow it, we can make materials, make buildings, make carbon credits, and in the end, see River Kipar come back. McKinsey selected us out of thousands of startups this year to help hyperscale our business model because they said it ticks every box and it's the right thing to do today for our tomorrow. But we didn't stop there. We thought we need to make nature sexy again. So how do we do it? Of course, with technology. So we partnered with Delaware to build a platform for several reasons. First of them is that we wanted to explain how urgent the action is and how big the problem is around soil pollution and degradation. If we compare it to plastic pollution, we can go to the Pacific Ocean and we can take a picture of the Pacific garbage patch and see, look, it's really bad. But with soil degradation and contamination, we can't do that. So we need to use the power of technology to visualize it. Second, we wanted our projects to be ultra-transparent. So we are building satellite imagery on the fields, ledger that traces everything from fields into the final products, so that all of that can result in ultra-transparent ESG reporting for CSRD of our partners, but also ultra-transparent AAA European carbon credits. We're also working on AI models that would help analyze the land, propose the regeneration plan, and predict how much time it will take to regenerate the land, what the land value will be at the end, and how much carbon we can remove at the same time. Now, why is it critical? Because we can introduce land restoration investments. How could it work? Imagine a company that buys carbon removal credits. Of course, they do the reporting and they analyze how much carbon they emit, and then they cut everything that they can, but some things they can't, so they buy carbon credits. That's an expense. What if instead of buying carbon credits, they could buy land? We know we can regenerate that land, let's say over 10 years. The value of that land goes up at least 200%. And then at the same time, we make bio-based materials, stock carbon in buildings, and generate carbon removal credits that the company can actually use to offset their emissions. All of a sudden, an expense turns into a profitable investment. What are we looking for now? Radical collaborations. That's the best part of sustainability, right? Because it's all about working together to come up with solutions. We're not working against each other. We are creating new businesses together. So we're looking for 3 types of partners. The first type of partners are the ones that are interested in using carbon-negative construction materials, like the sandwich panels or insulation, or plastic substitutes for biocomposite, which looks like plastic, but in reality it's 50% hemp. Second type of partners we are looking for are the ones that are looking for transparent carbon removal credits, European-based, not somewhere else, where you can check anything at any point in time and what's happening on the ground. And the third type of partners is investors, impact investors that are looking to do well by doing good, that are interested to work on land regeneration projects together with us, like the one I described in Bursia. If this is type of the problem and solutions you are excited about and interested in, please come talk to us today or reach out to us through our website. Thank you very much.